So this says spoiler real big in the title. And I'm saying spoiler real loud right now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, turn away now, because this is going to be the spoiler review. But before I get started, I just got to say, why, Joe? Why? King Jazal, why? She was not a woman to be deterred by hatred. Not from her workers, not from her rivals, not from the men she bullied, bribed, or blackmailed to get her way. It is when they truly hate you, after all, that you know you have won. So she met the sea they disliked with effortless superiority, paraded past with shoulders back and chin high. If she was to be cast as the villain, so be it. They were always the most interesting characters anyway. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike here, and today we're going to be talking spoilers for the 8th story, 7th overall novel in the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie titled A Little Hatred. This feels like it has been a long time coming, because it has. If you were a fan when the original trilogy came out, I know a lot of people, it's gained popularity over the last few years, it seems like, but I think that original trilogy ended in like 2008, 2009, so yeah, some of us have been waiting over a decade for this, and I can't really say waiting, because I never really thought we were going to get a direct sequel to the original trilogy. You know, when he started doing the standalone books, I never thought we would actually get to this point. But now we're here. They're starting to come out. It's book 1 of 3. So you got to kind of think about things in that this is part 1 of a 3-part story. And yeah, it knocked my socks off. I'm going to get into characters. I'm going to do this a little more structured than I did my non-spoiler thing, because guys, it's kind of hard for me doing non-spoiler stuff, because I'll think of something that happened in the book and I want to talk about it like immediately. That's how I do these videos. I don't do a script. I don't have a teleprompter or anything like that. I barely have notes. I just go off of talk about the characters, and then I'll bring up stuff that happened in the book. So this isn't going to be like a straight going down the plot kind of thing. I'm going to talk about each character and what I liked, what I didn't like, which is not much, and kind of what I think is going to happen going forward, or hope to see happen, or question, why, Joe, why did you do that, you know, kind of thing. So if you guys want to see the other First Law videos, I've done First Law videos for every single book in this series. I'll put that playlist up here for you if you haven't. Keep in mind, that was when I was first getting started. I listened to listener feedback a lot on this channel, and I'll make changes based off that. So back then, the production quality wasn't the best, the sound wasn't the best, the intro was way too long. I know. So that's why I'm constantly changing things on this, and that's why I decided to do a spoiler video and a non-spoiler video based off of feedback. Lots of people who want to see that. So here we are. First Law, book 7. I'm still saying book 7, because Sharp Ends was short story, so I'm still calling this book 7. Where to begin? I don't want to just jump straight to that ending like I did in the intro there, because there's a lot to unpack there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go by each character and talk about what I liked. Let's begin with Ricka, whose name I said incorrectly until almost the last chapter, her last chapter in this book, where they told me what her name rhymed with, which I can't even remember now what it was her name rhymed with, but I was saying Rick the whole book. So it's Ricka. She is the daughter of the Dog Man, like many speculated. I didn't go into any pre-book spoilers, so I didn't know that, but I know a lot of people speculated that. And she's with Isern, who is Cromaky Fail's daughter. So already right here, you got 2 characters from the original trilogy. You're meeting their kids. And I said in my non-spoiler review, what I felt about this book was it was like catching up with your old high school friends and meeting their kids. That's what I felt in this book, and in a good way, a very good way, because as we all know at this point, Joe has no problems getting you associated with new characters and making you give a damn about them like immediately. Besides Shy South. So she has this thing called the Long Eye, where she's kind of almost like a seer. It's not quite like a John Smith in the Dead Zone thing, where she can touch someone and see if you. She sees visions and kind of decide what she can and can't do based off those visions. Kind of like it's kind of still unexplained, and I'm sure we'll get more of it as it goes along. The way I gathered it is she can get some visions, but she doesn't really know the whole outcome. She can try to intervene a little bit, like she does in the fight between the young wolf, or the young lion and the young wolf. They having their battle in the circle, and she tells him how to beat him, basically. So stuff like that. Yeah, you can intervene a little bit, but it's not like crystal clear, hey, this is what's going to happen, as we see based off the ending. She didn't know what exactly that last vision meant. But she's gonna, I'm pretty sure she's gonna learn how to control this over the course of the story. And Isern is basically, she's just a splinter of Crummock. I mean, to me, it felt like Crummock was back in the story, just hill woman, a little messed up in the head a little bit, but very loving, very lovable character right away. She has an interesting journey on this, because I never expected her to go to Adua. I never expected her to cross paths with Baez. That was an interesting little twist. And I didn't expect the whole partner swap thing that they do with Savine and Orso and Leo and Ricka. That kind of surprised me there. They kind of did the whole swapping partners there, inadvertently, obviously, but it was an interesting little twist there. But very, very interesting character. Always fun to see the Dogman again. Any familiar characters, but to me, the biggest part of her story was seeing Carl Shivers. I had said on some of my previous videos that I thought that Shivers, I felt like he was just a great value version of Logan. And when he showed up in this book, I was so delighted that it made me realize, no, I actually grew to really, really like Shivers over the course of 5 stories. I believe he was in Last Argument, wasn't he? Or Before They Were Hanged? I think that was his first book. So 4 or 5 stories, I really grew to actually love this character. So when he came back, it was good. I was really interested to see that. I believe last time we saw him, no, because I'm forgetting Red Country. Anyways, he was with Calder at one point in time, and now he's against Calder again. So I mean, this guy flip-flops more than a politician when it comes to sides, and I think that's something that comes up a lot with our next character, Joanies Clover, who is a Northman, sword trainer. Little past his prime, little older. Talks about he's got a gut all the time, but he talks a lot about loyalty and about how loyalty only takes you to a certain point, and you got to watch out for number one, basically. And that I can see some of Shivers in that character that way. I like this character because he seems like he's just so laid back. He's just going to take things as they go, and he's just going to bide his time until the opportunity is right for him to do what's best for him. And he does that at the end, as we see. But I like the way that he acts like, oh yeah, just another, young prince, no big deal. And then he actually meets Calder's kid, Stour Nightfall, and he's like, oh my god, this kid's fucking crazy, right? So interesting way they bring tie in where he was actually in the circle holding the shield when Logan fought Fenris the Feared. It's nice little tie-ins that they put in this whole story that tie everything and make it feel like it is the same universe. And, some of these things have become legend at that point. But I liked his character quite a bit, as much as you can like. There are no good guys and bad guys in this series. I think by this point you guys know that. There is gray characters all around. So I can't be like, oh yeah, the good guys in the Union and then these bad guys in the North. No, definitely not. I was happy to be able to see Calder again. I was happy to see Scale again. Stour was a son of a bitch. I was really happy to see Wonderful again, except it wasn't too wonderful what happened to her at the end. Joe has his own red wedding, in my opinion, here with the whole uprising with Stour. I don't know, I can't remember Stour Nightfall's name. Stour not wanting to wait his time for Scale to pass on to take the crown of the North. He makes a pseudo relationship with Leo, who spares his life when they have their fight in the circle. And he's like, okay, well, I don't need these allies anymore. I've got those allies. But you see, I mean, it's any kind of Shakespearean kind of story you can think of there, where he's going to take the crown early and thinks that he can do things better than the previous regime. Once he wants Jonas to prove his loyalty by killing Wonderful, and you think it's going to be one of these things where he's like, what? Oh god. He basically does it before Joe even finished writing the sentence. He's stabbing Wonderful, and it was terrible. It was terrible, and I think it would have hurt more if what had happened in the next chapter hadn't happened, for me at least. But it was definitely a brutal chapter, but a very, very interesting character that I liked quite a bit. Let's talk about Leo Dan Broca. As you know, this is the son of Fenry, obviously the grandson of the betrayer. What do you want to call him? The treasonous Lord Brock from the original trilogy. So he's got to live with that black mark all the time. Like after he beats Tower Nightfall and wins that little battle for the Union, he goes back to Adjua thinking he's gonna be hailed as like some hero, and most people are, except Galacta. Yes, our Galacta, Sandan Galacta is back and is like, yeah, you're still the son of a traitor. So it knocks him down a peg a little bit, and I think when he meets Orso, and I actually kind of like the relationship that him and Orso seem to develop really quickly, except for the fact that, like I said, they swap partners. But it seemed like a little bit of a Logan and Jezal kind of budding friendship right there. At least that's what I kind of got. Very different characters, obviously, but that's kind of like the bromance that I got out of it really, really quick. Much more than I see Stour, Nightfall, and Leo having a romance. Like, not at all. Stour is very clearly Looney Tunes, and he's going to regret not ending that one. Yeah, and then Ricka won't even talk to him because, he didn't kill him when she said to kill him. So I kind of just kind of quickly going over Leo there. I thought he was a very likable character. It was someone that I didn't think I was going to appreciate that much because I liked Fenry okay. I didn't like the Brocks enough that I felt like I needed another Brock character. But like I said, in the Abercrombie fashion, he's able to get you to really give a damn about these characters, and quickly so. And it was in his fight in the Circle, I was like, I don't think Joe's going to kill off a POV character in this first book. But, with Joe, you never know. And you thought, man, he might die in this chapter, in this fight. And, I mean, you had every reason to believe that he was. And I think I said in my non-spoiler video that I always looked at this series as Game of Thrones without the dragons and without the prophecy bullshit. And so in the first chapter in this one, they lay down a prophecy, which I didn't write down. And I'll have to do another one about theories, about trying to figure out what that whole prophecy meant. The lion eats the sun or any of that stuff. It was some big thing. So I'm not going to go into that in this video. That'll be a later video, guys, where I'll actually start to try to break down that stuff. So if you're looking for the prophecy stuff, wait, there'll be another video where I try to decipher what I think that is. Because I do have some theories. I'm just going to kind of go over this book and these characters. So let's talk about Orso a little bit. Obviously, this is the heir to the crown to King Jezal. This is his son. He's pretty much what you'd expect Jezal's son to be. Just reluctant. I don't really ever think Jezal was ready to be king, clearly. He was like, before Baez smacked him down, I guess he definitely thought it was going to be a little different than it was. But what's heartbreaking to me through Orso's chapters is seeing that Jezal's life's been pretty terrible. He's got a wife who hates him. He knows that Savine is his daughter, and he's had to watch her with Galacta all these years, watch her grow up and not be able to acknowledge that that's his daughter and stuff. It's just he's had a terrible, terrible time. He all the time talks about being the ruler doesn't mean you actually get to rule. I just think for the last 30 years he's been fucking miserable, and that just breaks my heart. And then for him, I know I'm supposed to be talking about Orso, but I'm going straight to Jezal here. To see how his end is just happens. I mean, that's how death works. It just happens. It isn't always after some great deed or big moment. And I like I said, I knew that we were going to lose some originals in this story, but Jezal just dying in the middle of the night, probably poisoned by somebody, certain wizard maybe. Man, it was after seeing him get demasculated in front of his kid by Baez too. He's like, oh, Orso's being a little shit to Baez, like, who the hell are you or whatever. He's like, I'm the crown prince, and Jezal's like, stop, don't do that. And Baez is like, he needs to learn his place just like you did. And it's just Jezal had a bad. It feels weird to say that this guy who felt like at the beginning of the first book had everything handed to him. And then to look at this like, oh yeah, he got made the king and stuff like that. Dude, he was king in name only. Everyone knows that at this point. And it was, he could not have had a great life, And then, like I said, having to see his daughter like all the time and not be able to acknowledge that that's his daughter, or for her to know. And I'll say with Savine is that I'm surprised that you found out in this book that Artie actually told her that. Well, I mean, obviously why she told her, because it wouldn't be a good fantasy story without some unbeknownst incest, right? So, of course, her and Orso are having a sexual relationship. I mean, it just... I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I saw that he had a son that was a character in this, and obviously we knew about the daughter, Giselle's bastard daughter, we knew that somehow they were going to end up hooking up. It's just. I still was like, I'm waiting for Joe to do something unconventional with it, though, and he still might. He might do something else later in the books. But the fact that she actually gets revealed to her, Orso doesn't know, obviously, but Savine now knows that that's her half brother. And ends the relationship immediately. And so Orso is just miserable, obviously, because he doesn't understand why. They're all talking about how they're in love and stuff, and now she's like, don't even speak to me again. So he goes on the rebound with Ricka, and Savine hooks up with Leo, which is actually a much more interesting fit, honestly. It's just so much what Joe does, where he sets up your expectations, and then you see something happen, and it's like a train wreck in slow motion where you can't look away, and it's just, there's so much disaster written all over this. But the way that they wrote Baez back into the story, I guess he doesn't show up until like near the end of the second act, after the uprising from the Breakers. I think that I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, I don't think maybe we might not even see Baez's story. I had already accepted if Logan's still out there. Honestly, I think Logan's story's done. I don't know if he's going to show up in this unless it's like a cameo where you think, hey, that could have been him, but Joe leaves it kind of ambiguous. I felt like Red Country with Logan was him riding in the sunset, and that was the good ending. At this point, it would just feel like fan service to bring him back. You already got Shivers there, like I said, is the Walmart version. I'd rather see someone like Mansa or Shanked or somebody like that come over more than I would like to see a return of Logan. And I know that sounds like blasphemy, because I know Logan's a lot of people's favorite character. Mine's Galacta. So obviously the Galacta that I got in this, I was very happy to see. He's not in good shape, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place, guys. This is the problem when you don't take good notes. I'm sorry. I was glad to see him again, seeing our heroes like just is so old and fragile at this point. But Galacta seems like he's still very much in control. He very much knows what's going on. What are some other things about Savine? What's her name? Zuri? Is that her handmaiden? I guess it's just her companion, she calls her. Anyone else, is it blatantly obvious that she's an eater? I mean, I kind of thought that, and then I was like, well, am I just trying too hard? If she's not an eater, she's at least a breaker or a burner or whatever they're called, because when Savine's going to go to this town, all of a sudden she just, I have to leave. I have to go take care of something. It was very obvious to me that she was involved, but then you meet her brothers, and Joe comments about how they had like such perfect teeth. Like he's commented before about how eaters have such perfect teeth. If I'm wrong on that, don't crucify me. I'm pretty sure I remember him mentioning about eaters having teeth, really, really nice teeth. I think he comments all the time about Euro Sulfur having really nice teeth. Might be making that up. I don't know. Sometimes I read too fast for my own good. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. If it's not obvious to everyone else that Zuri is involved one way or the other, then I'm like, well, that might just be Joe setting you up for what you think and then subverting your expectations. Who knows? We'll see. But I do want to say, I think we got a mention about Pharaoh in there. They talk about the demon who finally got the emperor or Khalul. So that's cool. I mean, we know Pharaoh was out there somehow. So I think there's ways that he brings back these characters in a way that feels like fan service, but not like Star Wars sequel fan service or prequel fan service or the Hobbit trilogy fan service, where it's like, hey, remember that thing you liked? I'm going to talk about it now. No, it's more ways that feel like it would be believable to just be dropped in a conversation or something like that. Who do I got left? Victorine Dan Tufel. Obviously, she is the daughter of, God, what was his name? The guy that was the master of the Royal Mints in the first book that they get to a bullshit confession out of and send him to the camps in England. So that was a nice tie back. This was the first shock of the book to me, was that she actually is not a breaker, and she's actually in Galacta's Inquisition. That surprised me quite a bit. At first, I was like, why would she do that? Why would she be put into the camps in England by the Inquisition and then go work for them? And like, What about Galacta? He got tortured forever, and what does he do? He becomes a torturer, you know? So sometimes you become the thing that you hate. And I think that's some of the symbolism Joe puts in his books that I love. I can't say enough about the way that he does that. I think she's a mildly interesting character. After that reveal, it's kind of like she's just kind of there, kind of like the eyes of what's going on at the Uprising. One of my lesser favorites in this. Again, I think that there'll be more going forward to see about her. I think this was just kind of an introduction, and we'll get more on her in the next book. And with Gunner Broad, if I thought that Logan was great value, or I'm sorry, Shivers was great value Logan, I kind of feel like Gunner Broad is like dollar store call. I know he fought in the war over there in Styria. There's a lot of people where they fought Mansa and they got beat, you know, and so they're not happy. It's kind of like, to me, it feels like returning Vietnam vets who were not happy that they came back after fighting a war where no one knew what the real ending was and they didn't get to win, kind of thing. They didn't really know how to react. That's how I get out of Gunner here. I think he's got a little bit of, not a little bit of like the Bloody Nine in him, but he's got anger issues to a point where he can't control himself sometimes, and he ends up he goes from 0 to pissed off in like 2 seconds, and that's a mildly interesting character. I feel like it's got enough of a twist on it where it doesn't just feel like a recycled character like I felt like Carl Shivers was at first, where I just felt like he was just a recycled version of Logan. This one, not so much. There's definitely some stuff there. Him and his wife now going over and basically he's basically Savine's heavy, and I think like that's a good role for him, and it's something that's going to lead him to something unexpected, I believe, going forward. But what are the big events in the book that I didn't really talk about? The Uprising, I felt like it was interesting the way it was handled. It was really shocking that, you know, Orso comes out there and treats and gets this thing resolved only for Sulfur and clearly Baez to come in and just hang all of them. So that makes Orso look really weak. See, I thought it was something like they did with the Tanner in the first book, and they were just setting it up for Orso to come out there and look like the hero, like Jazal did with the disgruntled townsfolk out then, where he's just, oh, okay, look at this guy, he's amazing. I thought that's what it was, and I think that might have been more of Joe subverting your expectation because you figured that's what he was doing. If he was behind that trying to make Orso look weak, I don't really understand, especially with the way this book ends, where Baez looks very, very happy that he's putting Orso on the throne. Only thing I can think of is that Jazal and Galacta, with the way that Last Argument of Kings ended, where they're like, you know, we just got to wait for our time. I felt like they were doing some stuff, and Baez found out about it. So he feels like Orso is going to be much easier to control. You know, Jazal's he's getting older. He's starting to get a little out of hand. He feels like he's got nothing left to lose, so I've got to take him out of the picture. That's the easy answer. The other answer is, I don't know. I mean, how many enemies does Jazal have? I mean, at this point, it's like things have been going along clearly pretty smoothly for the last 28 years. If he's still on, I mean, how old do kings usually get in these books, you know, or princes? I don't know. I'll have to do like a theories video because, like I said, guys, I'm still processing the ending of this book, what it can mean. I still don't know who the Weaver is, you know. The easy answer in that thing where somebody like is a bald guy, I'm still thinking it's Baez, but I feel like that's too easy. I heard one theory is, it could be Galacta. Galacta wouldn't have sent his daughter out there before that happened. I don't know. There's just so much to talk about, and this is why I wanted to wait to do this video, guys, because I have so many thoughts still spinning around in here that I don't really know where to go with it. So I'm going to have to take some time, and then I'm going to make a video going over that prophecy, what I think what's going to happen going forward, or what I'd like to see happen going forward, or answers that I need. But what about you guys? What did you think? I want to open this up to all spoiler conversation in the comments. Please let me know everything that you guys are thinking. If you want to comment on what I'm thinking, that's fine. But I want to know what you guys are thinking. I want to start a dialogue down there, get some conversation going, because there's so much to unpack with this book, almost to a point where I feel like I'm going to have to reread it before book 2 comes out next September, because even though I took my time reading it, it still feel like there's so much that I don't necessarily say I might have missed, but I need to kind of just let marinate and look at with an eyeglass and try to see if I maybe missed anything. There's something really obvious lying beneath the surface that I didn't catch. But I don't know. I've been thinking about this for so long that it doesn't seem real. You know, we finally got this, and by the same author. It almost feels like one of those things where, like the guy who's writing the sequel to the Dragon Tattoo series, and it's like, but it's not the same author, so it's not the same. You know, this is the same author, so obviously this isn't like the Star Wars sequel where I treat it like fan fiction. This is the real deal, and I don't really know